Informal sector also shared jobs with the economic survey, saying the number of jobs reduced by 600,000 from 15.1 million jobs in 2019 to 14.5 million last year. Caroline Jingo for Prime Edition.
Good morning, and thank you so much for creating time to catch News Tech today. We are really happy that you created time to join us, a program that seeks to explore issues shaping the news. We have studio sit-downs with experts in various fields to give us an in-depth understanding of some of the issues that are shaping debate across the country. And today it's not any day different. We are going to be discussing two pivotal issues. The first one touches on just, elevating the technical training agenda in the country. And in the second part of this conversation, we'll be talking about matters gender-based violence. The Nairobi County Assembly is set to discuss and pass or either reject the Nairobi City County Sexual and Gender-Based Management and Control Bill of 2019. So later on, our conversation will be centering around the gender-based violence status in the country, some of the gaps, and how this bill seeks to seal those gaps, especially for residents of Nairobi County. But first, we want to talk about matters youth, matters employability skills, matters TVET. And joining me in studio this morning to have this very important conversation is Dr. Augustine Ndungu. Dr. Augustine Ndungu is the CEO, CAP Youth Empowerment Institute. He has also co-authored a recently unveiled book by the name How to Make TVET Work for Kenya. Quite an interesting title for a book, if you ask me. Karibu sana, Daktari.
Asante sana.
Thank you for creating time for us.
Yes, thank you very much for hosting me this morning.
All right. Yes. We're having this conversation at a time when there's a lot of concern and interest around TVET and, yes, just imparting the technical skills, yes, in our young people in the country. But from a general perspective, I'd like us to begin by you just telling us a little bit about CAP, yes, Youth Empowerment Institute, and, yes, a little bit about yourself.
Thank you very much. I work for an organization, like you said, called CAP. CAP is CAP. Actually, it's an acronym. CAP Youth Empowerment Institute is an NGO. Our mandate is to provide skills and support for young people. We have created a model that focuses on helping the most marginalized young people, and then we provide them what we call short-term skills so that they can gain a foothold in the labor market. Mm-hmm. And we have been using that model in Kenya, adapting it in many different ways for the last 10 years. In the process, we have been able to train well over 80,000 Kenyan youth all over this country. And we have achieved transition to employment very, very high. Despite the problem we have in the economy, out of those 80,000, 75% have gained entry-level jobs. And another 10% have been able to start micro businesses. That's a very, very significant achievement, despite the challenges Kenya faces.
All right, 80,000, that's a significant number.
Yes.
You're talking about, youth, vulnerable youth.
Yes.
I'm interested in knowing, when you use the term vulnerable youth, yes, who is the target in this particular demographic?
It is youth who are at the lowest level possible. So, for example, we train young people who have dropped out of primary school because they couldn't continue for the many reasons we know, either poverty or they became orphans. We train young people who dropped out of Form 4 who could not go beyond it, again for all those same reasons. We have customized the program we use so that we are able to train actually those two groups together if they come to the same class. We reach out to many, many young women. We have 52% of the youth we train are young women. And again, it's for the same reason. We know young women are actually marginalized even by just being young women as far as technical education is concerned. We come from a society that sees technical education as a male domain, which it is not. We have also worked to reach out to radicalized young people. For about 3 years, we worked in the coast region to work with young people who are in danger of becoming radicalized or who had already become radicalized and were being reformed so that they can rejoin the sector. Mm-hmm. And then now we have also extended our definition of vulnerability to regions of this country where if you go there, hardly any learning is taking place, not just technical education, any learning. If you go to the northern counties, Mandera, Wajir, Marsabit, Garissa, Tana River, because of insecurity mainly, very little learning happens there. So we have created special programs and a special adaptation of our model that enables us to train young people in those areas as well. So for us, marginalization is any young person who is in a state of lack of hope, where we can move them from lack of hope to hope, and hope for us is they secure an opportunity to earn a living. Based on that, they gain the aptitude and the attitude to also want to continue and grow, sometimes by themselves, sometimes by help from elsewhere.
All right.
Yes.
I'd like to probe you on this adaptability of the model.
Yes.
In just a bit, we'll be discussing that. But does it mean then that you have a national presence, like where you based, where you found, for a young person who could be watching?
Yes, we have a national presence. We have been working in 30 counties of this country. We have more than 32 training centers that are mostly hosted in technical education institutions, mostly VTCs actually. And those centers are still there, although we are not running them directly now because the program that set them up has come to an end, but that initiative is still there. In addition, we are working with more than 300 technical education institutions in this country. We started 6 years ago this program so that we can help them to achieve the same results we do by applying some elements of our model. And it has been very, very successful. In fact, the reason why we are withdrawing from direct training ourselves is because we want to focus as much of our effort on this capacity building of the technical education sector.
So I'm understanding one thing from what you're saying is that initially you were directly engaging with the young people, but
yes,
as you get deeper into this, you're
yes,
trying now to sort of be incorporated in the TVET institutions.
Yes.
All right.
Yes,
is there an inspiration for that?
Yes.
Or an objective for you doing that?
Yes, there is an inspiration for it.
All right.
Like I said, we started our program in Kenya in 2011. In the beginning, we had worked in other countries of Africa. We had never worked here before. So we were calling it a proof of concept stage. That is to show whether what we have done elsewhere could work here. And we spent about 5 years proving that it works. When you do that, though, there are questions that arise. Then the question is, okay, you've shown us it works, now what? For us, the answer to that question was we have to teach other people to do what we do. And when we looked around, the biggest provider of skills is the government. So we aligned ourselves to the county-based technical education sector. They are called vocational training centers. Many people know them as village polytechnics. We have been working with them gradually to the point where we now have more than 300 of them under that program. And we have been transitioning our model and all the lessons we learn to them. It is also the reason why we decided to publish a book, because we said, okay, is this it? The answer, of course, is not. There are many, many other issues that they are dealing with that need to be responded at national level. Plus, there are also other institutions that need the same help. What we have actually done is we have taken the entire lessons that we have learned in a period of 10 years, and we have told that story. But we have gone beyond telling that story to now say, look, these lessons can also be used to reform this sector, the entire TVET sector, so that it achieves exactly the same or more, 75%. It's not rocket science, it can be done. However, there are things that have to happen outside of the classroom as well as inside the classroom. Yes.
How to make TVET work for Kenya. That's the title of your book.
Yes.
And you will be answering that question for us before you wind up this conversation. But I just want to understand more about this model.
Yes.
This specialized way of imparting these skills to these young people.
Yes.
What is your idea?
It's a 9-step model. It's very, very simple. We call it Basic Employability Skills Training, BEST. BEST, and it's only got 9 steps, and that's the entire secret behind the success we have been able to achieve, is that out of those 9 steps there are some steps that are absolutely essential. The very first one is we never train before we know who will employ the people we are training. So our very first step of our model is what we call a market scan. A market scan is simply an assessment of who is hiring young people in this location and in which sectors. So
so it starts from assessing the job market.
Yes.
And looking at the demands in the job market.
Exactly. We look at the demand, and the assessment is very simple. We have simplified it. We'll go knocking on doors. We would come to KBC and ask you, who are you hiring? And what qualifications are you looking for? And then employers are quite happy to tell us. They are also quite happy to tell us how we are failing, because they are not very happy with our skills training sector in Kenya. And then the conversation continues. If we trained these young people, would you hire them? Usually when we are new, the answer to that question is maybe. Let's wait and see first whether you can deliver. But then would you be willing to be part of training those young people? Quite often employers say, yes, we would be. And they actually sacrifice their time and resources. So that step is done, the market assessment. Once we collect information on who hires, we take the top profiles that we have found have the best potential. You see, these are not jobs that we are counting. They are prospects for jobs that we know will be available if people are trained and if the employers know that we are training the people they could hire.
For those jobs?
Yes.
Okay.
Only after that, then we will decide, we will select the curriculum that delivers skills for those top profiles we have chosen. And then the delivery of that curriculum is the other key to our success, the other secret. It is not just teaching you the technical skills. It incorporates what we call life skills. Those are the attitudes that make you successful no matter where you work, even when you change jobs. It actually, life skills are skills for life, essentially. We combine that. And then the third one is we go back to the same employers we talked to and we bring them into the classroom. And it is these employers who now start working with these young people, really opening their eyes that this is what's possible. These are the prospects for you. This is what you can expect. But this is also what me as an employer expect if you are my employee. That preparation takes place over a period of 3 to 4 months, and we close by a module we call work readiness. Work readiness is simply preparing young people for the world of work. Many of our colleges don't do that. They train you and they hope that you're going to be okay. For us, anybody who has ever been trained in KPI will tell you they have had the chance to go to the industry for the sector they were being trained in, and they have had people coming from that industry, and they have had a chance to even practice that work before they left the classroom. And those key elements essentially is what is giving us all the good results we are seeing. So our argument is this: these are not new things. These are, if you went to college to learn to become a teacher, we were taught to do those things, but you don't do them. Why? We don't know. So that's the reason we have published this book, because we are saying it can be done. And we can reform this entire nation. We have 5 million young people without jobs today, mostly because they don't have the skills and because the employers who would hire them say they don't have the right attitude.
Let's talk about that a little bit, because one thing that stands out is the fact that you bring the job market to the class.
Yes.
And you sort of come up with a customized curriculum that fits and meets the demand of this job market, and ensure that these people who are taken through this training actually have something that will meet that demand.
Yes.
Where is the problem with what we are having right now?
What we are having right now is we use what is called a supply-driven training approach. So you go to school, you are taught, you never see the people you are being taught to work for because they never come. And then you finish, you never receive any support after you finish. They say goodbye, we hope that you are going to be successful in looking for work. Guess what? Many people fail because employers say, even the things you taught them for my job have changed. You could have come and asked me. I would have been very happy to tell you what you need to change so that these people are worth me hiring them. That's one of the biggest problems. There are some good things happening, though, to change from that supply-driven to demand-driven. Demand-driven is the one I've just explained, where you start from looking at the market. There are some efforts already. The biggest effort has been the introduction of a framework called Competency-Based Education and Training, CBET, by the government of Kenya. It's a government policy now to reform all TVET institutions so that they will become demand-driven. They will do what we have been doing. And in fact, the book we have published now is we are saying, look, here are some very easy ways to apply the CBET framework so that you become CBET compliant. It's a very good move. But there are also some bad things happening, and I think we need to point them out. The body that is responsible for CBET is the Curriculum Development and Certification Council, a government institution. They are the ones that were created when the TVET Act was created back in 2013. Guess what? I saw a report last week saying that it's going to be dismantled. Some people in the Ministry of Education think that CDAC is not important, meaning they probably think CBET is also not important. If these things are not called out and changed, we are not going to go anywhere, because government creates policy, and the development actors and government ministry and institutions implement that policy. But when the same top comes and says that policy is no longer important, we are going to cancel it, what signal are you sending?
Sort of like chucking the engine out and expecting it to continue functioning.
Literally,
okay.
yes, exactly.
All right, so let's talk about how now to make this TVET work.
Yes.
You answering these questions in
Yes.
your book.
Yes.
I need these answers. How
All
do
right.
we make it work?
How to make TVET work. How to make a TVET work. The very, very simple answer is to convert our technical education system from being supply-driven to becoming demand-led. Demand-led means that we respond to the needs of the market instead of training people and hoping the market will like them. Now, for that to happen, though, there are some things that have to happen in the classroom. I've mentioned the classroom is literally, you have to bring industry into the classroom and the classroom into the industry. That has to be inevitably a part of the training program. But the other side of the equation is at the top. Government decisions like the one of getting rid of SIDAC, which are wrong, in my opinion, should not be entertained at all. That's a mistake. It should totally. But there are also other changes that need to happen. Number one, demand-driven training takes also structural and financial changes that need for it. It's an expensive business. And the government resources to TVET sector so far, today, is less than 10% of the Ministry of Education budget. The entire TVET system receives less money than the universities. Guess what? Universities train managers, TVET trains the workers. Who are the managers going to manage? That has to be changed. We make very, very specific recommendations for example, the need to create a ministry of TVET. The need is not just the fact that TVET now is a very small department of the Education Ministry, because the Education Ministry is the largest in the country, is that the Education Ministry, we see it, and inevitably parents especially and children, it's about basic education, where the majority are. It's about university education, where the intellectuals are. TVET gets lost in between, yet it should be the engine that drives development by mobilizing the people who will bring about that development. We have also talked about making sure that if we are going to become demand-led as a country, then it means the industry has to have a role in delivering and designing plans for TVET. In our book, we recommend the creation of a skills council, a national skills council that's going to actually be driven by the private sector, whose job is to tell us what skills we should offer. Today, the decision as to what skills Kenya should offer is not based on market scans. It's based on somebody sitting in a ministry somewhere and deciding we need this number of carpenters, we need this number of programmers. That's not their role. It's the role of the people who employ those carpenters to actually say, well, yes, we think we will need this number because our prospects for growth are this much. And those are employers. So our recommendation is create a council powerful enough that employers are able to give direction to the rest of us and say, this is what we need, this is how we need them trained. If you don't do that, we are not going to hire them. Powerful enough, in fact, to be heard. This is how Germany has done it. We talk about the German dual system. The German dual system is not really driven by the Ministry of Education. TVET is not even a part of the Ministry of Education in Germany. It's part of the Ministry of Planning. It is driven by industry saying these are the things we need, these are the skills we are looking for in the next X number of years.
And this is how to go about it.
This is how to go about it.
All right. I like what you're saying about, how to bridge this gap between what the job market wants and what we are offering as training for that particular job market. And we will be getting back to this conversation just a little bit. Right now, I want to cross over to Hilton Hotel. This particular morning, the Kenya's Editors Guild, in partnership with the African Institute for Development Policy, AFIDEP, is having a meeting to discuss, among other issues, the role of the media and the ongoing efforts to develop or pilot emerging health technologies and potential to reduce the disease burden in Africa. Let's just cross over there and listen into what some of the stakeholders have to say with regards to this initiative.
Hide a little bit when you speak these kind of things, but that is where we are. And I fear, personally, that all the gains we've made since independence in terms of being at the cutting edge of things are quickly getting lost in this country. I don't think I've got a better answer for you, but that's what I can say. There was a hand elsewhere.
Sorry, my name is Rini Kamau from Talk Africa. I totally feel your frustrations in terms of even using the drones in Kenya. It's really hard thing. You can ask even the cameramen who are here. But I really appreciate that Tanzania is making that milestone, because they've always had the project which was run by Huria Ramani, and they even have the first drone pilot in Tanzania who is a female. And I don't know, maybe the fears would be combined in Africa, in Kenya, because of maybe the Zika virus. Is that maybe one of the reasons that maybe some of the people at the top, they don't want to get to that place where they will be asked those hard questions, and maybe they don't have a good answer? And maybe from your explanation, can you be able to even assure us if we were to help you push this going forward, and having Kenya come back and gain its status, are there any risks involved? Because I would be scared if we'd go the Zika virus way.
Okay, so I'm not exactly sure what I should tell you, but I've been on the forefront of the drone work in Kenya. And right now there's one company, it's called Astral Aerial, that is part of Astral Aviation. So the father owns the aircraft, Astral Aviation, the son does Astral Aerial, the drones. Those guys now have a license from the Civil Aviation Authority to fly drones consistently. Maybe they'll renew after some time. So we've worked with them a little bit. So the things are changing there. I think also in terms of legislation, there was a bit of change there. But of course, after a lot of years of sitting there and nothing happening, it's just that if you want to, so those guys have their own drones. Now they're talking about a T-20, T-30. They have them in Westlands if you go to their office. And they're working a lot in Kitale to spray the maize farms with fertilizer, a lot of things, you know. But that is now a businessman, okay? People that might be funding government in a way. For information, Astral Aviation are the guys who bring in all the vaccines. They are received here before they go to South Africa. So there might be, you know, some link there. I don't think you need to get scared about talking to government. Sometimes I can be a government officer and I don't have information. And I think as media, you have this legitimate role of making sure that you put things the way they are. So long as you get the correct information. I don't think you need to be. I mean, I'm a biologist. When I see the content of biology from developed world universities, they have a lot of these gene-drive things, synthetic biology, this kind of stuff that we don't see here completely. Just because we don't have the money, we don't have like the little things to do. If we don't make noise, we'll be left very far away. So some noise is important, I think. Yeah. What? Oh, yeah, Zika virus. Some time back, I worked for the U.S. Army, and at that time, we were interested in viruses that are spread by mosquitoes. And we did collections of mosquitoes from most of Kenya, and the infection rates of mosquitoes here is extremely low for those arboviruses. If you're talking about dengue, it might be high, but we're talking about 3%, 5%. So Zika will be really something small. Despite the fact that it came from Uganda, which is nearby, that's the origin of Zika. It's in Kenya fine, but it won't be that big issue. Kenya, I think, is a country whereby if 5 people die, is not an issue. That's the funny thing about our country. So I wouldn't be, from the Kenyan standards, I wouldn't be so scared, but we need to do something to make sure we don't get any disease here, so we can deviate those budgets to more pressing issues. Yeah.
Back, and thank you for staying with us. What you're watching right now on your screens is an event that is currently underway at Hilton Hotel right here in Nairobi, as the Kenya Editors Guild, in partnership with the African Institute for Development Policy, AFIDEP, is currently meeting just to explore ways in which the media can play a role in the ongoing efforts to develop emerging health technologies within the continent. We know that we are suffering a burden of quite a number of diseases, including malaria, and experts have been doing a lot, inventing quite a number of innovations to help us mitigate some of these diseases. So what can the media do to advance this agenda? That is what our stakeholders are discussing at the Hilton Hotel. Jackie Wambiru will be giving us more details about that. But in studio, we have been talking about making the work environment more fruitful, more sustainable, and also preparing our young people for that particular work environment. And I've been engaging Dr. Augustine Ndungu. He is the CEO, CAP Youth Empowerment Institute. And before we went to that particular link, Daktari, we were talking about your recently unveiled book, How to Make TVET Work for Kenya. Yes. And you're sharing quite a number of useful insights on some of the gaps that you have identified in TVET in this particular country, and how that can be sealed. And I heard you talk about something that goes away from what I would term the norm, the academics, the education, the grades, the passing of exams. You talked about life skills as a fundamental aspect of training young people to be ready for the job market. Why is this important for you, life skills?
Life skills for us is important. We came to it in a very strange way. Like I said, we target vulnerable young people, marginalized young people who are in the depths of hopelessness. So for us, from the very beginning, we knew it was not enough to just give them skills. These are young people who have been hit very badly by life. They needed something to lift their confidence, their self-belief, so that they can function with the technical skills we give them. So the very, very first time we created the best model, it included life skills. But then over time, we have come to realize it's not just those vulnerable young people who need life skills. It's all young people. And it's a very simple, there's a very simple logic behind it. You are training somebody to work in an institution. It can be a business, it can be even your business. Guess what? That's a community of people. And if you don't have the attitudes that enable you to work within that community of people, to relate to them positively, it possibly means that you cannot be a very useful worker there, or you'll not be very productive. Now, over the last 10 years, we have spent a lot of time and money and effort in providing data that shows that indeed that is correct. The story you just showed a few minutes ago, that organization, AFIDEP, worked with us in 2017 and 2016 to collect information on just that one story. What are the non-technical skills that young people need so that they can be successful in the world of work? My organization was one of the case studies, and they came up with very, very interesting results and recommendations, which is that if we really, really want our TVET sector to work, then whatever decisions for change are flowing to change that system have to include life skills as an integral part of whatever change happens. It's not enough to teach somebody to be a good photographer, for example. You also have to teach them how to relate to the people being photographed or to the community that they are working with or where they are working in. In my opinion, if you were to ask me to tell you the secrets behind the KPI model and approach over the last many years, I would put life skills at the top of the list. And it has been confirmed many times. Yes, many times.
Let's talk about this life skills. What are, just say 5 fundamental life skills that would make somebody, a young person, thrive at the workplace, aside from your expertise as a photographer, your expertise as, say, somebody who is a carpenter, or whichever technical skill you have. What else would make you thrive in terms of life skills?
Okay, we did a research a few years ago where we talked to more than 3,000 employers and asked them exactly that question. What are the life skills you value, and why do you value them? And they told us. So for me, if I'm to talk to a young person today, I'll tell you the top life skill is one. It's not even one of those 5. It's one that was implied over and over. Learning to learn. You have to be ready to learn every day new things. You will never stop that. That's it for your life. That's just the way our world is today. After that, employers tell us, if I'm going to have you as my employee, there are certain things that you must have, and if you don't have, I'll try to teach you. But some of them I will not even try to teach you. Integrity is the first one. They say honesty. If you are not honest and I'm going to put you in charge of my resources, no. The other one is leadership. I'm looking for people who are willing to grow with me and with my business, with my organization. And that means also not only being a good follower, but also being somebody willing to help those people behind you to rise up. Communication. Most businesses are all about communication, and it's not just communication outside with the world, but it's also communication within the business itself. I'm looking for people who are good at communicating, who are responsive to challenges as they happen, and then who are willing to take to do whatever it needs to take initiative. They call it initiative. Leadership, though, is described in many, many different ways. Then they talk about self-confidence. We are looking for people who will project a confident image of our business. If you don't have that self-confidence, maybe we can help you to build it. However, what employers told us is, in an ideal Kenya, we would wish that our colleges and universities gave those skills before the students came to us to become employees. Now, we know it can be done because KPI has shown it can be done for 10 years. And the reason we wrote the book was also partly to show, look, this is not just theory. This is not something from out there. We adapted this program to Kenya. All the lessons are Kenyan. The 80,000 young people are all Kenyan. The employers who worked to help them become good employees are all Kenyan. There's nothing from overseas. It's all here. We have the resources, we have the ability. All we need now is the political will to act. That's all that's remaining.
And you're saying it's possible.
It is possible.
Most of these life skills, we tend to think these are things that you learn from way back when you were young, and it is something you will continue learning over time.
Yes.
How do you shrink this within the period this person is within that particular training program?
Yes, it is a fact. Life skills, you don't only learn them in school. The earliest life skills, you learn them on the lap of your mom as a child. That's how early life skills you begin to learn them. But perhaps over time, because becomes embedded as so much a part of your life, we don't see value to them, and maybe that's why many colleges have not bothered to integrate them in the technical training that they offer. So how we do it as KPA is very, very simple. We have selected life skills for us that lift somebody from the lowest level you can imagine possible by helping them to answer 3 questions. Who am I? Where do I want to go from here? Because we take it for granted you don't want to be there. You're in a very bad place. How do I get there? And how do I get there? It's not just the technical skills that can get you a job. It's what attitudes do I need? Do I need to find a better way of recovering if I fail? Because there will be failure. We call that resilience. We hammer on it over and over. You are going to fail. It is inevitable. The difference between you and your friend who also fails is what you do the day after you have failed. We call it resilience, and it's important, and it's something that a lot of our Kenyan young people have. And then after that, we take people from outside of the classroom. These would be employers. Sometimes we bring religious leaders, Muslim, Christian, Hindu. They have all come to our classroom. And we tell them, can you now explain these life skills, not just as preparing for work, but as preparing for life? And they're able to do that. They will quote holy scriptures and all that, and that reinforces it. Then the third one is we actually get young people to practice those life skills during the training. We make sure that they practice as many times as possible. We even have a tool for assessing how you practice, a very simple tool. It's a form. If you come to our classroom, you see it stuck on the door near the wall somewhere that has many, many lines on it. Each line will be the name of a student, and each column would be the name of a behavior that we expect you to show, and if you don't show it, you are marked. So you come late, there's a life skill that you are failing not to model. You are not responding to questions or to points raised in the classroom, or you are rude to your students, or you are not participating in group work, or you are not doing your homework in time, or you are not disciplined. They are all there. You tally the points. Every 4 weeks, you are able to see your score of life skill behavior modeling. And we do that over a period of 3 months. And guess what? Within 3 months, it has become a habit. Many people say they never had to learn it anymore. Also, they could never stop doing it. Good habits.
It becomes part of them.
It becomes part of you in only 3 months. Only 3 months.
No wonder, you know, and we were jokingly sharing this with you earlier. No wonder there are people say that there could be a possibility we can have ignorant PhDs.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can have.
We can have ignorant PhDs.
We can have ignorant professionals, and we do have ignorant professionals. You've seen, the society spends a lot of money in training PhDs, but sometimes when you see them fail, it's not in what is in their head, it's in their behavior. And that behavior actually
and how prepared they were for life.
Exactly.
The kind of life skills they have.
Yes.
How to tackle failure, how to just be people of integrity, commitment, time management. These basic things that we have made normal and become so used to.
So if you go to church, possibly the preacher repeats this over. These are the things God wants you so that you can go to heaven. Those same life skills. That's what they're repeating every day. They quote even the law, the Bible. Don't do this, don't lie, don't cheat, don't. Guess what? Those are the same life skills you need for life on this earth and for work. And young people, actually there were young people who are prepared for those life skills. Our research has shown are way, way, way ahead of their peers. Way ahead. And my question is, why can't we do that for all Kenyan young people? What's to stop us?
All right, so let me take you back to the issue of employment.
Yes.
And let's explore the unemployment rates in our country. Where do you find the mismatch? What is the contributing factor? Where is this button that we need to perhaps press?
Yeah, unemployment rate in Kenya is very bad. It's probably as bad as it can be. We see statistics, percentages. Now I like to use absolute numbers because they are easier. Let's just take young people between 18 and 35. That cohort is about 15 million Kenyans. More than a third of them, we are told, by government statistics, are either unemployed or underemployed. They have no prospects at all. You said, what are the main reasons why they are unemployed? The very first piece of blame I lay is at our TVET system. Our technical education system is the one that's supposed to give them the skills that can make them employable. We are not doing that. We've seen already why. And the change that needs to be done. The other one is the consequence of that is there is research that has now been done and repeated a few times actually that says 40% of business owners in this country say they are not able to grow their business because they cannot get the right people to hire. 40%. Yet the problem for hiring is not with the business owners, it is with the TVET system. If we fixed it, that's a low-hanging fruit already, 40%. But then let's take a look at our low-hanging fruit. This year, the same government, Kenya National Bureau of Statistics numbers told us that Kenya imported food worth 103 billion between January and June. 103 billion shillings worth of food. Those are jobs we sent overseas or to Uganda or to Tanzania. God bless them. I'm not saying there is anything wrong with them. But those are jobs our young people could easily take if, again, we provide them the skills and the support so that they can exploit them. 103 billion shillings in food production is almost 1 million jobs. So we are already talking of what, 5 million young people unemployed. We take 1 million.
You have already taken, you left it for.
Maybe the other 40% takes another 1 million. And then we start looking at the higher things like the work that the government is already doing now to get youth into growing sectors like digital skills, Ajira, for instance. It's a very, very good initiative because of what happens. It's going to position Kenyan youth for the future. That's where the world is going. Almost everything is going to become digital. Almost everything.
So from what I'm gathering, this issue of unemployment is actually sort of a man-made problem that can be solved if 1, 2, 3 things change.
Yes.
All right.
It's a man-made problem. Let me be blunt, it's a government-made problem. That's how I see it. It is. It can be solved today if they wanted. It could be done 1 year.
All right. I will be coming back to you just for you to talk to us more about how then do we change the narrative in this country going forward when it comes to youth empowerment and just equipping the skills to them. But I want us to go to Mombasa County very quickly, and joining us now live is our reporter from the coast region, Junaika Risa, just to also add the voice of the coastal region in this particular conversation. Junaika, I understand you're talking to some stakeholders in the TVET industry in that particular region. What can you tell us?
Good morning, Serfine. We're coming to you from Mombasa, and today, just to continue the discussion we have in studio, I'm joined by Charles Majani. He is the director of TVET and at the Technical University of Mombasa, just to give us a broad perspective on the situation of TVETs here in Mombasa County, as well as the coastal region as a whole. Karibu sana. Just give us an overview. How many institutions are in this particular region, and I understand it is a plan that the government wants to erect at least in each and every constituency one. Is that dream possible, and what are the strides that are going on? Karibu sana.
Thank you so much, June. As you have been told, my name is Charles Majani, the Director TVET at Technical University of Mombasa. And to go to your question, for sure the government is putting a lot of emphasis on the TVET education because of the knowledge that is going to be gained out of that. And as you have rightly said, it is the idea that every constituency should have at least one TVET institution. And to that end, the government has put up 60 new TVET institutions. In the coast region, we had Technical University of Mombasa mentoring 2 institutions. One of them is at Lunga, and the other one is at Makinon. Actually, there were 3. There is another one in Garsen. So those ones are the ones that we have. And in the whole region, we have several other institutions that are offering TVET programs. In Kilifi, we have Godoma, we have got Weru. In Mombasa, we have got Kenya Coast National Polytechnic. We have got Changamwe. There is also an institution there which is offering TVET programs.
As we go to the statistics, over the years, we have seen the performance of some of these students is wanting, of course, and most of them cannot make to a placement into the public universities that are around. So the solution of TVET appears to be the brilliant solution for this particular area, considering their performance. But it appears some of the students are yet to embrace the idea of TVET. Could you just highlight why that could be a reason, and how they can embrace this particular idea?
Thank you, June. One of the goals of TVET is to ensure that the students are going to get the knowledge and change their attitude, have their values, so that they can be able to embrace the technology. We know that there are skills that we are calling the green skills. And I would want to say that there are organizations which have come up with the solutions so that they can be able to bring on board the TVET institutes and students going to the TVET institutes. For example, I will give an example of GIZ as well as Plan International. This year at Technical University of Mombasa, we have got what we call the CBET programs. And in that one there, we have trained over 100 students in the lathe machine as well as arc welding. And these students have been able to get placements in the job market. And this one has actually spurred interest. There is a lot that is being asked about every time they are asking about those opportunities, whether they are there. So it is just the attitude that needs to be changed so that we can be able to bring these students, our graduates, our KCSE as well as the KCPE graduates. Because remember, TVET is there. It is giving a lifelong training. You will be able to start from wherever it is. Then you can be able to go to a higher level. You can start from an artisan, and you can go and you can become a professor. So the TVET education has given that path so that you can be able to go through those different ranks so that you can be able to go up to the level of a professor.
The government right now is championing the blue economy agenda in this particular region. We are seeing that most students, based on their performance, again, they cannot get placement in this university to do some of these courses. Are there plans so that you can at least diversify some of these courses so that they can be accessible under the TVET programs? And of course, do you have any particular links with some of these institutions that provide blue economy jobs so that once they are done with their training, they can acquire placements of job in particular institutions?
For sure, you know very well that the blue economy, most of the bulk of the jobs that are there in the blue economy are those ones that are requiring skills. They do not require a lot of education. They are skills like fishing. You have to just or net making of the nets that you can be able to use for fishing, the boat rides and so on. Those ones can be obtained from the TVET institutions. I would want to mention that there is also the academy, that is the former Bandari College, which is offering courses that are geared towards the blue economy. Again, Kenya Maritime Authority is coming up with the institutions. I would want to mention that Technical University of Mombasa is having a campus in Lamu, and we would want to put there the education, the skills that can be able to be obtained through so that you can be able to get the blue economy thriving, because that is what is there. When you look at Jumuiya County za Pwani, that is what they are emphasizing, and I think there are those opportunities that can be able to give the graduates of KCSE those opportunities that they can be able to get the jobs in the market of blue economy rather than just waiting for the white collar jobs.
You have mentioned that there is need for an attitude change amongst the KCSE graduates. Again, how is the enrollment so far in these particular institutions that you mentioned earlier, and how are we picking up? Are we having more students in these particular institutions, and what more as an office under TVET can you do so that these particular students can understand the importance of these particular institutions?
Thank you for that, June. I would want to mention that for sure the enrollment in the TVET programs is really going up. And you remember even the CS, when he was opening the opportunities for a university, there was almost more than 15,000 of those who were qualifying to go to university, but they chose to go to the TVET institutions. So the enrollment is improving because of that attitude change. And I think there is a positive impact that is going on as a result of the efforts that the institutions are making to ensure that the attitudes of people is not going to be thinking that you need to go to the university only. And remember, we are saying that yes, as going forward, we would want also to ensure that those who are skilled in those attitudes are compensated enough. And I think that one, the Kenya National Qualification Framework is doing quite a good job. They are coming up with the scales that can be able to give you, so that you do not have, if you are having a particular skill, then when you are going to be employed, there should not be a difference in the payment, whether you are going to be employed by KPA or you are going to be employed in another industry. So long as you can be able to offer those skills, then the pay should be equal, because it is going to be. And I think that is the equalizing factor that requires to be looked into effectively, so that we can still spur the values. We can be able to increase the values to these graduates who are going to be coming out of the TVET institutions, so that they can go into the job market. And I would want to mention also, NITA is doing quite a lot in the placement. We have got a program that we had with the industry, that is a best tenure. And we had, with those students were coming for a period of 3 months to learn the theory. Then they go down to the industry so that they can be able to get the skills that they can be able to know. Those students, when they came out, actually they were absorbed immediately by Best Titanium. Others were employed by Kenya Breweries and so on. They got the jobs immediately. None of them, there were 28 students and none of them missed an opportunity to go to the job market.
What are your targets in this particular region? How many students would you think that if we hit this goal, then we will see that the system is actually flooded or it's working?
You know, June, I'm saying that we have got the institutions that are there and they are not yet to capacity. So we would want them to be full. I wish we could even have as many of them so that we can even have learning that is going to be staggered, so that some could be coming in the evening, others in the morning and so on. But as it is, we are supposed to be emphasizing on quality, because that is what is supposed to be. The quality is supposed to be the one that is supposed to be emphasized more. And I'm happy that the government is doing a lot. They have bought equipment for the TVET institutions. Those ones that have been built, there is quite a good equipment that is there that can be able to make these students get the skills that are adequate to be used in the market.
Okay, finally, just in 1 minute, the issues about teachers. Do you have enough capacitation, and is the government adequately compensating these teachers in some of this institution? In 1 minute.
We have got challenges here and there, but as I've said, the government has done quite a lot. Remember, the TVET institutions used to get their teachers from TSC, but now they have now gone to the ministry. They are being employed within the ministry under the TVET, the State Department of TVET. So, and there is a lot of effort that has been done. I know from Technical University of Mombasa, we have had our graduates who have been employed so that they can be able to take up the teaching opportunities in this TVET institution. So I would say, yes, capacity building, the government is trying a lot.
Thank you. That was Mr. Charles Majani. He is the director TVET at the Technical University of Mombasa. Remember, the Technical University of Mombasa has been spearheading some of these TVET institutions so that they can be established in this particular region. So I hand it back to you, Serfine, in studio to continue with the conversation.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Junei Karisa. Coming to us from Mombasa County, Junei has been having an engagement with Charles Majani, the director of TVET at the Technical University of Mombasa. They've talked about quite a number of pertinent issues. And Dr. Ndungu, Junei was just probing Charles Majani on some of the issues revolving around the TVET institutions in the country. And one of the things that she talked about was the issue of attitude. And when I say attitude, for a very long time there was this feeling that TVET was not that attractive for young people. Many of them just wanted to go to universities.
Yes.
What is happening currently in terms of that?
That is changing.
Attitudinal change.
We have had historically this belief, it's not historically, it's maybe 30 years, that TVET is for failures, which is strange because all of us depend on TVET to live every day. If you drive a car, you live in a house, you're sitting in one today, watching TV, you depend on a TVET graduate, the so-called failure. That is changing already, and it's changing not because of us adults, it's young people who are changing. Mr. Majani mentioned that this year, for the first time, 33,000 young people who should have gone to university decided to go to TVET. They have seen the future, even though we, our parents, are still insisting you have to go and get a degree. That's the main change that needs to happen. That attitude change is not with the young people any longer. It's with parents, it's with government officers, it is with people like me and you, people in the media who believe that the TVET story is not worth telling because it's boring. It's not boring. It's not boring at all. That's the kind of change that needs to happen. The other change that needs to happen, in my opinion, is Mr. Majani talked about the resources the government is spending on TVET. That's true, but that's still only 10% of the Ministry of Education budget. It's less than university. That figure has to go up by a big number, and the biggest portion of that money has to go to the ground, the bottom of the TVET pyramid. Our constitution divided TVET into two pieces. The biggest piece, 60 to 70%, is controlled by county governments, 47 of them. The smaller portion, maybe 40%, 30%, is controlled by national government. Almost all the resources go to that 30%. That big portion, which is supposed to be the feeder to the top, has been left with. It doesn't get resources. 2 years ago, there was a very visionary, I thought, policy to provide a capitation grant to every village polytechnic based on the number of youth they enrolled. And that's where this massive enrollment change began to happen. I understand that has been removed. These are the kind of policy decisions where you actually wonder whether the government, the right hand, knows what the left is doing.
Sort of, negating the gains we've made so far.
Exactly.
So what you're saying is there is inequality in the reforms that are currently happening in the TVET.
Yes, there is
sector.
inequality in the reforms. The national government allocates resources. There's a commitment to build a technical institution in every in every regional parliament. There's 290 of them, and that's a very good thing. However, this country has already 2,000 TVET institutions. The majority are dying or closed already. You just go to any village, you'll see them. We used to call them village polytechnics because of lack of resources. Yet, these are the ones that are next to the young person who is vulnerable, who can't come to Nairobi or go to Mombasa to get the training. They can get that training there. And now, the Kenya National Qualification Framework has made it possible that that young woman or that young man from that village can go all the way to PhD if they want to. If you kill the bottom, the top is not going to work. That's all I'm saying. We need to get resources to the bottom. The other big change for me is just take TVET out of the Ministry of Education. It will not grow when it is subsumed by a ministry that has 500 billion shillings, serves millions, and TVET is just a little department on the side. It needs either to become its own ministry, if our government thinks it's important enough, or put it under Ministry of Planning, like other countries have done, at the very least. And then the third one is just get the private sector making the decisions for skills training in Kenya. That's not the job of government functionaries or experts like me, no. That's the job of the employers. They are the ones who should tell us who we should train and how we should train them.
And how many they need.
And how many they need, exactly.
Because who makes the decision on how many journalists we need, how many doctors we need, how many carpenters we need.
Exactly.
No wonder we have so many people floating. They have the papers, they have the degrees, they have the certificates, the diplomas, but they have nowhere to be accommodated. I want us to look at that future, and I want us to be careful not to transfer the same problem we have been having to what we are talking about. Because yes, we are having this momentum around TVET really gaining, really building up, and conversation is currently picking up around TVET. And if the media feels conversation around TVET is boring, at least as KBC we do not. That's why we are having this conversation this morning. As we do this, as awareness continues, as more young people become attracted to taking up these technical skills, are we opening up opportunities for them? Are these opportunities there? Or we could just have excess engineers, excess carpenters who we cannot accommodate in our job market. What do we do so that
that's a very good question.
The problem?
Exactly. That's a very good question to ask, and it's a reasonable one. The answer is not really intuitive. It is something that we have also had to prove to ourselves first before we wrote a book about it. It's simply this. If the reason we have excess carpenters, we have excess hairdressers, is because we train without reference to what the market can absorb. If we change our TVET system so that it trains to what the market can absorb, we will at the very least ensure that we are not overstocking on those sectors that because young people are coming in, that then we say, okay, we'll train you anyway. That's the first step. The second one is this. TVET, a good TVET system, is supposed to be the workforce department of our employers. An employer, anybody who starts a business wants it to grow. Nobody starts a business without a desire for it to grow. No business will grow without good workers. If I knew that I could rely on the college next door to train the carpenters I need for my carpentry workshop, I could even plan to double, because I know the day I need them, they'll be there. That's where we must position TVET. It has to be at the service of the employers, the service of the market, so that the employers can also grow alongside it. That's how most of the countries that we say have become developed countries, China, Asian countries especially, Singapore, Korea, that's how they have done it. They have essentially said, you tell us what we need. That's the government gone to employers and said, you tell us what you need today, we are going to make sure it's provided. But also, we want you to tell us where you see us going in the future, and again, what workforce resources you need. We are going to plan with you to make sure they are ready when you need them. That's where Kenya must aim to be.
All right.
Yes.
Dr. Ndungu, thank you so much. How to Make TVET Work for Kenya, a book he has co-authored. Really looking forward to, going through this, answering quite a number of pertinent questions about how we can be able to make this practical and sustainable for our country. As we wind up this conversation, what's the way forward for you? What does the future look like for the young people and also for KAP Youth Empowerment Institute?
The future for me, and I would like to address this to young people, and I say thank you, thank you, thank you. You are the ones who are actually driving this change. And it's my hope that you're going to stay the course even when you get frustrated. This is probably the best time to be a young person ever, in my own opinion. That's probably the best time. And what I say to young people is this: TVET is not for failures, you already know now, you know that. Do your best to seek an opportunity to learn a course, even if you're at the university. You should not finish your training and preparation for life without having something you can be proud of, that you can do with your hands, or that you can do with your hands and brain, not just relying on the training you get in the academic system. Our government is providing those opportunities now. We are hoping they are going to increase because we are listening to the plans, and we are of course going to be correcting the government where we think we are going backwards. And KPI is still remaining as a small training provider, not as big as before. Like, for example, now we are enrolling in our training center in Buruburu and in Kisumu. And very soon we are going to go to Mombasa, where you'll get the same kind of training that we said got us to where we are today, where we are saying 75% of young people who go through our training get jobs. And we want that to happen to all the TVET sectors. There is one other benefit. We have worked with many TVET partners, and some of them are offering fantastic programs now using this demand-led approach that we worked with them to develop. And we are happy to connect you to them. And even if we don't connect you to them, just knock on their doors. Go and ask, what are you offering, and what are you offering after I finish this training? If they give you a good answer, enroll. If you get a chance to get a scholarship from the government, grab it. I've been sad to see money being taken back to the treasury in the past years because young people didn't know about it. Don't let that happen. Go take that opportunity. And thank you once again. We know that the young people are going to uplift this country. Our job now as adults is to make sure they succeed.
All right. Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Augustine Ndungu, CEO, KAP Youth Empowerment Institute, also a co-author of How to Make TVET Work for Kenya, talking about a model that seeks to, go the demand way when it comes to preparing the young people for the job market. We are going to be crossing over to the next conversation in just a bit. Remember, the Nairobi City County Assembly is set to make deliberations on whether to pass or reject a very crucial bill that is going to address the issue of sexual and gender-based violence in this particular county. We are going to be talking about that, and also how this bill seeks to seal some of the gaps in addressing this particular vice in the society. In just a bit, I will be engaging Mary Mwami, a nominated MCA right here in Nairobi. So do stay with us, but for now, we take a very short break.
She does have a major illness, but
How dare you do that? Lying to the Empress Mother. You wrote that?
it wasn't there when I handed it over. Someone must have added it.
But you said you wrote it yourself.
The midwife Yoon, who's working at our palace, has been punished by Eunuch Ho. Her name is Yoon Xian. She entered the palace to treat the Empress Mother.
What did you say? never do anything against your family, and of course, against you, Deanna.
You have to dismiss that young girl,
Mother,
Eduardo.
I won't.
I'll take care of putting her in her right place.
What would have happened if you had never left me to be with Loreto?
Please, let's not split up. We don't need to.
Yes, we can, and it's exactly what we are doing.
No.
For no reason whatsoever, no reason will I ever let that San Roman see Diana.
Nonsense. Wachezea kazi tu. Tambia kita kufute kazi.
Haina haja. Yuko njiani. Kosa jingine tu na ajipata nje getini kule.
Pili si anti wangu, ni mamangu.
Mamako? Mbona wamuita na jina lake?
Mkufu upo uko ndani na sio tu kuvaa.
Uko wapi?
Huyu mkufu si wangu mimi.
Sio pesa tu. Hata roho yake pia anatembea nayo hapo chini.
Leti nimekuona unakimbia kule sana, mbali na kazi hizi. Unajua pia Kenya na Tanzania sisi ni majirani. Kuna collab yote ambayo inakuja labda?
Yeah. Kuna collab.
Inakuja na nani?
Sikwambii, surprise.
Wasanii wengi hawatumii mbinu kama ambazo unazitumia wewe, ndugu yangu. Kwa nini uliamua kuwa na mashindano kupitia YouTube? Kata. Yeah. Yeah. Ndio tumetoka. Kata. Mauno kata. Obasi kata. Let me teach you. Show love. Love is how I greet you. So many things for us to share. Now is the time. It's you so real.
Like a past turn up the music. Skanking sweet. Everybody wanna feel like free. Forget your troubles and rock with me. You know feel a reggae music sweet. Yeah. Skanking sweet. Everybody wanna feel like Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina ya Mustafa. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina ya Mustafa.
Tunazungumzia malezi ya watoto kwa njia ya Kiislamu, na pia vile tunazungumzia jinsi mapambo yanatumiwa katika Uislamu.
Kitu ambacho mwanamke anafaa kufanya, yanafaa kuambatana na jukumu lake msingi ambalo ni ulinzi.
Swala yake ni rehema, hupata majazo mema siku hiyo ya Kiyama.
I miss my son Joseph more than anything. I will never forget Joseph. I will never forget my son.
What is it, son? I had a dream, Father. And it all seems so real. But this has to stay secret. Don't tell anyone.
Your Majesty, Your Highness, Prince Cheng requests to meet you. Mother, wake up!
Sire, I'm sorry it went this way. We shouldn't keep Miss Hung in here.
Why did the Emperor grant him the marriage so soon? I thought when he recovered, he'd forget all about that woman and focus on me.
We could try other methods if this didn't work.
Naona kila mtu aliyotaka kufika yuko hapa na nitaanza bila kupoteza muda.
Baba wako babu una imani na mimi kabisa.
Imani ninayo, lakini amani sina. Sitoweza kukaa hapa nikikuona wewe ukijitia kwenye shida.
Wewe umempeleka wapi mke wangu? Umempeleka wapi nyota wangu?
Jamani baba, jamani hata salamu.
Nimekuuliza swali, mke wangu yuko wapi?
Kwa hivyo bibi, waonelea mimi kumleta Lea hapa haikuwa wazo zuri?
I have never forgotten you. Never. You know that my heart belongs to you.
Ines.
I just want you to tell me one thing with complete honesty. You're only looking at this young woman as an employee, right?
It's true. I'm in love with Cassandra.
What the heck were you thinking when you brought this band and serenaded my daughter?
I'm not forgiving you. And I'm not going to listen to you. As your boss, I order you to leave me alone. Please.
Have you ever heard of a ventriloquist? If you haven't, then meet Nelson Gitonga, aka Nelson Gishen, on social media circles, who has been a professional ventriloquist for the past 1 year.
A ventriloquist is like a magician, but ni tofauti juu magician anafanyanga watu hawaamini vitu zina happen. Misdirection. Unaweza fikiria kitu iko hapa na iko hapa. So the same to ventriloquism. Unatumianga dummies, puppets unafanya watu wafikirie mnaongea na puppet on stage. So unapeleka sauti yako kwa puppet, so watu wanafikiria ni conversation ya watu wawili on stage, but it's the same person, ni wewe tu unaongea.
Unaongea kizungu nyingi na uko na denia na ndoga.
Ukiendelea hivyo, I'll take you back to the car.
Which car? Ile ka uko nayo ni car few.
This form of art is something that you cannot just wake up one day, hit the stage and be successful. Since his childhood, Nelson has been secretly working on improving his skills and waiting for that one defining moment that will awaken the giant within, and indeed, the moment came.
Nilianza nikiwa mless, juu kitambo kulikuwa na ile show ya puppets KBC. It was the only station. So venye nilikuwa naziona, alafu najaribu na socks ya black, naeka tukaratasi to white, tunapaka mate. Lakini my siblings hawakuwa wanaona, ni kama walikuwa wanaona tu niko kivyangu, niko dunia yangu. So until last year nilikuwa nimeifungia. Nilikuwa naifanya tu kwa kichwa, lakini nilikuwa nimeifungia. So last year nikasema wacha nijaribu. Hata kama watu hawajui Kenya, Afrika, kitu ilinipatia hope ni America's Got Talent. Niliona hiyo show inafurahiwa na watu sana. So nikasema why don't I try it in Kenya? In Swahili, both Kiswahili and English. So nikaenda my first auditions, ilikuwa pale Vika. By then nilienda nikiwa 10% nita make it, 90% sita make it. So kwenda huko, kuingia stage, judges, kila mtu alikuwa wow, this is amazing, hii iko sawa. So nikapata hope. So kutoka hiyo siku kuambiwa tu 4 years na judges, na nilifika finals. So nikaanza kwenda kujaribu sasa ma shows kama Jaikwat, na huku ma performance Kitengela, everywhere. Yeah.
I can even take a bullet for you.
Jonte uwezi. Wewe ni doli, bullet itakupita inipate.
Exactly.
Lazima utafute dummy. Alafu sasa una train how to talk without moving your lips. Hiyo ita involviwa ukishaanza kuact kwa stage, kuactia watu. Lazima umeke watu wa believe ni dummy inaongea. So lazima uende training ya kuongea without moving your lips. Kitu kama hiyo. Alafu lazima ujue kuioperate, na ukimake the mouth movements, lazima uzipange vizuri, ndio ziingiane na venye ile sauti unatoa. Juu unaweza ongea hivi lakini mdomo ya puppet haiendani na puppet, watu watakuwa confused.
Jonte, nini jo? Sasa sitalala na nani? Amka jo. Wacha kunisumbua.
Even though his first public performance was a success, he was terrified to the core on the prospect of going on stage, especially in front of the Jaikwat students.
Jaikwat ni Crazy Kena na Flako walini invite niende nijaribu show yangu na the most fierce judges audience ni mastudio wa Jaikwat. So nilipeleka show yangu huko kama natetemeka. So at first waimbaji wakaimba kwanza, wakatolewa. So acting ikaingia, na surprising nilitoboa. Niliwachekesha sana mpaka nikaenda kutoka stage, MC akaniita akaniambia huku ukichekesha watu hivyo lazima upatiwe maigwe huku. Igwe sasa alafu kuna ile kitu ilinipatia moral kwanza. Ukishaona ukiperformia audience alafu uone watu wametoa simu wanaanza kukurecord, at least unapata hope, unasema hii kitu inabamba watu.
Niliacha ukitafuta demo sura mbaya, ulipata? Nilitata den sura mbaya. lakini haga wa
Yeah, first of all, to be a ventriloquist, lazima kwanza umbebe kama mtu. Mahali analala, lazima umtengeneze kitanda, lazima umtengeneze nguo. Kama kuna drawer ya shelf yangu ya nguo ya wife, ya watoi na ya dami. Kama ni dami mbili, dami zote mbili. Ndio kwa kichwa yako all the time usemage huyu ni mtu. Juu ukikosa kufanya hivyo, ukienda stage hautambeba kama mtu na unaweza blanda. So inatakaga hata mkikaa maisha ya kawaida, hata kama uendi show, unamtoa saa zingine, mna have a conversation, anaongelesha watoi huko. By the way, watoi walikuwa na muogopa first time, lakini sasa washamzoea, wanaongeaga na yeye. So hata unaweza sikia nimemiss Jonte, siwende umtoe tuongee na yeye. So lazima ukue umfanye kama mtu, ndio ukienda stage muongee kama watu wawili, lakini ni the same thought. Yani unatengeneza mtu kwa kichwa, alafu ukiperform unamtoa, mnakuwa wawili sasa.
Just like any other profession, researching and exhaustive preparation is important before going on stage.
Ina depend. So kama tuseme umeitwa kwa an adult show, you must create adult jokes. Unaweza enda nasty kidogo. Ikikuja ni kids show, lazima utengeneze kids vitu zina. Before uende hiyo show ya watoi, lazima ustudy what makes kids laugh. Ni nini inafanyanga wafurahie? Ni vitu gani unaweza fanya ndio wafurahie? Alafu ukienda kwa sasa generally jokes zenye zinaonekana kwa TV, lazima utengeneze kitu haitaudhi mtu. Yeah, so lazima kwanza uchunguze ni wapi unaenda. Ndio sasa ujue ni jokes gani unatengeneza.
I am 100% single. Na najua I'm not tall, dark and handsome. That
live audience sijawahi toa kitu yoyote watu wakakosa kucheka. Juu nakuaga na advantage, juu kitu ya kwanza the dummy itself, doli yenyewe inakaa funny venye inaongea. So hata ukikosa kutoa kitu inachekesha sana, bado watu wataona it looks funny. Doli inaongea na mara mingi nataka gai niingilie, juu mimi si mtu wa kuongea sana. So zile vitu zinakuaga crazy kwa kichwa yangu na zitoanga through doli, juu mimi siwezi sema directly.
Nataka kuona mtoto wako akiwa hai tena. Tuna 20k
nimeaccomplish kunini kuonekana kwa TV na to be the first ventriloquism in Kenya. Naweza furahia sana kukuwa the father of ventriloquism. So kuna wase kwa inbox wameni approach wakaniuliza, can you train me? Sijafika kukuwa mkubwa, lakini wase wameni approach DM sana wakiniuliza I want to be a ventriloquist, so can you show me how? But inakuwaga tricky, sio kila mtu anaweza jitengenezea dummy. Inakuwaga tricky, so now I explain yaga tu pole pole. Within the next few years or months, I hope to be naweza penda kufundisha watu wengi kufanya hii art.
To be a good ventriloquist, you need to connect more with the dummy, and it's something that has a huge impact on how you perform.
Okay. So kuhusu corona wa Kenya nini ni karao, so naweza tenda kuadvise hivi, corona iko na inaua, ni ukweli. So before vaccine ifike, watu endelea kudha
Jonte.
sorry I meant Nask.
malezi ya watoto kwa njia ya Kiislamu na pia vile vile tunazungumzia jinsi mapambo yanatumiwa katika Uislamu.
Kitu ambacho mwanamke anafaa kufanya, yanafaa kuambatana na jukumu lake ya msingi ambalo ni ulinzi.
Swala yake ni rehema, hupata majazo mema siku hiyo ya Kiyama.
I miss my son Joseph more than anything. I will never forget Joseph. I will never forget my son.
What is it, son? I had a dream, Father. And it all seems so real.
Nimekuona unakimbia kule sana mbali na kazi hizi. Unajua pia Kenya na Tanzania sisi ni majirani. Kuna collab yote ambayo inakuja labda?
Yeah. Kuna collab.
Inakuja na nani?
Sikwambii, surprise.
Wasanii wengi hawatumii mbinu kama ambazo unazitumia wewe ndugu yangu. Kwa nini uliamua kuwa na mashindano kupitia YouTube?
Kata. Yeah. Yeah.
Ndio tumetoka.
Kata. Mauna kata. Obasi kata.
But this has to stay secret. Don't tell anyone.
Your Majesty, Your Highness, Prince Chung requests to meet you. Mother, wake up!
Sire, I'm sorry it went this way. We shouldn't keep Miss Hung in here.
Why did the Emperor grant him the marriage so soon? I thought when he recovered, he'd forget all about that woman and focus on me.
We could try other methods if this didn't work.
you are human.
All right, welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. We really do apologize for that long break, but we are going to move on with our show right now. We are getting into the second interview, and today I told you we'll be talking about sexual and gender-based violence, just addressing some of the gaps in interventions and see how we can be able to address this vice in the society. And joining me in studio to have this very important conversation is Honorable Mary Ariviza Mwami, a nominated member of County Assembly in Nairobi. Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa, for creating time for us.
Thank you.
All right. So just looking at the Nairobi County alone, and this does not mean that the number of gender-based violence cases nationally are not anything to worry about, but just looking at Nairobi County, because that is where our focus is this particular morning, is talking about the cases of gender-based violence. According to the Kenya Health Information System, in Nairobi County alone in 2021, we recorded about 3,716 cases between January and June. And in 2020, the cases were at 3,450. In 2019, at least 2,023 cases were reported. In 2018, 2,357 cases. And of course, I can go on and on. But one thing that stood out for me from this data from the Kenya Health Information System is how there has been a surge, Mheshimiwa, in the cases of gender-based violence from 2016 to 2021. Every year we keep on recording higher cases. And recently we had stakeholders and experts even saying that the COVID-19 pandemic actually even led to a ballooning of this, an explosion of these cases of gender-based violence. Probably talk to us about what you read from this trend. What does it tell us about the gender-based violence status in the country?
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for the invite. It's important for us to know that there has been a surge since COVID-19, and which started in 2020 around March. I think it had been there a while, but we hadn't discovered it until just around 2020 March. From that time on, there was a lock-in, and this lock-in means people who normally go outside of their houses, they are suddenly in the house. They are locked within, the men and the women and the children. And what happens is, when you are locked in, one, the normal routine that you do and you are used to is disrupted. So emotionally you are already disrupted. And then there was, number two, the disruption of emotions and the financial. And this financial means, especially for men, if they are not able to provide for their families, then they are likely also to become violent. And women, when they are not provided for, their mouths become louder. And so that makes the man who is already frustrated because he cannot be able to provide for the family, will now, and then there is a big mouth that is saying, wanaume unakaa tu hapa hatuna hata kitu ya kukula. You know, those kind of things. So it leads to hitting. And what will happen is, there is a cyclic kind of venting of emotions. So the husband will probably hit the wife, and the wife will hit the children, and of course we hear the children will hit the cat and the dog, and so the cycle continues. So it is because of the upheaval that has been caused in the world due to the pandemic, which caused financial strain. Yes.
All right. Thank you for linking the COVID-19 pandemic to this surge in sexual and gender-based violence cases, because many were asking themselves, why did we experience the numbers rising during this season? And I just want us to understand then about the Nairobi City County Sexual and Gender-Based Violence Management Control Bill of 2019, which is being sponsored by Mheshimiwa Wanjiru Kariuki. What is it that is fundamental about this bill? I understand you debated it. There was a session this morning to discuss this bill.
Yes.
Just tell us a little bit about it.
What it is, this sexual violence gender-based bill, it's very, very timely. One, I think we are the first county to kind of pass it in the whole country, and you know, Nairobi always leads, and then the rest of the 46 come in. And so what Honorable Wanjiru has done is a very good thing, and we as the Women Caucus, we have a caucus of women in Nairobi, we support it, and we have a good number of men. In fact, most of our men in the county, they have supported it, and we have passed it. And so the gender-based violence by Wanjiru, let me get my specs on. This gender-based violence by Wanjiru Specifically, it's an act, or we want it to be an act of the County Assembly of Nairobi to provide measures of awareness, prevention and response to sexual and gender-based violence, to provide for protection, treatment, counseling, support care of victims, and for connected purposes. So you see, it's a very comprehensive act. Once it is functional, it will be, and what we are suggesting is each and every sub-county will have a desk where this gender-based violence can be able to be reported. Now, I know we can say that the police already had a desk, but we realize that that desk, not because our police officers are bad necessarily, no, but because they are not yet trained into these things, they went into, let's say, asking the victim what it is, because that's what they are trained for, to investigate, and the victim is getting more traumatized. Are you getting?
Yeah.
So what happened is, instead of it serving the purposes that it was supposed to, it even brought more trauma. And then there were some naughty ones who would say, maybe you were dressed badly or something like that. And that brought more trauma for the people. And so while they were doing their job, we are feeling like we just need to have a county set up in every sub-county. In Nairobi, we set up a desk where this gender-based violence will be reported, and because of this, we will create awareness using that desk, because in the various areas, we will find that that person knows the details of the particular community that they are serving in. We can be able to create awareness with the people. We can be able to prevent what measures can be used to prevent. Let's say, for example, the measures that will be used to prevent gender-based violence in the upper market may not necessarily be the one that can be used in our areas that are informal settlement. Because in informal settlement with Mabati house, even when the husband is beating the wife next door, the neighbor automatically knows and they can be able to intervene quickly. With our gated communities, we need another way of being able to intervene. So the response to this will be based on gender-based violence. It's therefore the protection of the victim, the treatment of the victim, the counseling sessions, and that means we will be able to link them with the counselors who are well trained, and then the victims will also be given support. And linked along with this gender-based violence that is of 10, we have the other one that is linked to it, and we are hoping we can have also what we call the safe houses. The motion was done by our Deputy Whip, Honorable Waithera Chege. She's also a member of the Women Caucus, and she set up an objective of a motion that said, and which was passed, the county executive, that is the county government that establishes the policies and so on, established the gender-based violence desk and the well-trained staff at City Hall as the central point, and in all sub-counties to provide for post-trauma care facilities for survivors of sexual gender-based violence in the county. So the two are linked. And then we also went ahead and said that we need safe houses, and these safe houses are supposed to be found also in every sub-county.
In every sub-county.
Yes.
Sorry to cut you short. I want us to go step by step, because this is a very fundamental bill we are talking about, and like you say, Nairobi County is going to be leading the pack if this bill is implemented.
Yes.
I just want to understand, first of all, let me take you back to the reporting stage.
Yes.
We have data, and I've just taken you through some that show us, the number of the cases of gender-based violence. But then again, there's this bigger issue of under-reporting.
Yes.
And I want to understand from your perspective, what do you think is the biggest contributor of under-reporting of gender-based violence? Because I have a feeling this is not the true reflection of the situation on the ground. What could be contributing to the silence around SGBV in the country?
Yeah. Even that 3,000 that we have just talked about, 3,016 people, it's an understatement. It's higher. What happens is, when we were in the meeting with the journalists, most of the people who were in that particular meeting where we were presenting this bill, some of the journalists thought that it's more prevalent in the informal settlement than it is in the upper market, and had to correct them, that the rich also cry. The fact is, this is higher. It's much, much, much higher than we really think. Some of the things that inhibits are a family protection of shame. For instance, there is a lot of incest. And I'm a counseling psychologist. When I talk about this, I'm talking it with authority. There is a lot of incest in our homes. Not just in Nairobi, but Nairobi because we have left our cultural homes where the culture says that you should not sleep with your brother, you should not sleep with your sister. And we have come in Nairobi, and unfortunately, our parents are not taking time. Like I remember my grandmother telling me, you don't sleep with your cousin, you don't sleep with they tell you it is a taboo, and they give you the consequences of those taboos, which almost meant you just knew if you ever did it, you are almost as dead. And in one of our cultures, the Luya culture, for instance, if anybody did incest, actually your house was pulled down by the community and you were chased away. So when we come to the city does not have those norms being safeguarded by the community itself. So people, what they do is we are living carelessly, and sometimes we hold these family parties, and the parents are downstairs taking a drink and enjoying, and the cousins are upstairs. What they don't know that the cousins are also involved in crazy things upstairs, and it has happened in this city. So what we are saying is gender-based, and that is where it is allowed, but gender-based violence is also happening within our homes. Whether upmarket or even in our informal settlement, it's happening, and it's on a larger scale, but families keep it because of protecting the name of the family.
Some we come to know, some we don't
some
even
will
know
never
about.
come to know. Then secondly, there are also threats from those very people, especially if this gender-based violence is done to children. Children will be told, if you do that, I will kill your mother. If you do that, I will kill you and your brothers and sisters. So this little baby, because loves the family members, they cannot be able to say it, whether it is within the family, and most of the time they are done against by people who are closest to them, either relatives or neighbors who are very well known to them.
All right. This bill seeks to address the gaps in data collection, and it is going to sort of ensure that the data is not just collected about the number of victims, but also in terms of age, in terms of their gender, in terms of their nature of disability, in case they have any. Why is this important to segregate the collection of data and be very specific that when it comes to age, when it comes to whether they are women or they are men, when it comes to whether they are persons with disability or not persons with disability? Why is it important to be very specific when we are collecting this data? What is it going to help us achieve?
It's very, very important for us to have data. And one of the suggestions in this bill is that we are setting up a management committee that will be able, as this is set up, that will coalesce and bring all the information that would have been got from all the sub-counties together so that we know how to deal with. For instance, in an area that we find that there are more prevalence of gender-based violence than another area. That means we would have to put more resources there. We would have to use preventive. Remember, we don't want to wait until the gender-based violence happens. We want also to put measures of prevention. So in such areas, what we would do is, after we get the data, we would be able to specifically go into prevention, where you meet the youth and give them education, you meet family members, you meet people, you talk, you use the faith, and we have stakeholders. Let me give you some of the stakeholders that we have. The stakeholders in this bill include, and it may add more, but includes police, Office of the Attorney General, Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, probation officers and prisons, faith-based organizations, public officials, healthcare providers, counselors, psychologists, civil society organization, donor communities, media, private sector, community-based, and Council of Elders, traditional elders, and other relevant stakeholders.
So we are form the committee.
Yes, they are not the ones who are forming the committee, but there will be the stakeholders that the committee that will be formed will be able to consult with.
All right.
Those are the people they'll work with. So you see, it's a multi-sectoral forum that will bring together. So if we find that after collecting data, we find that one area is more prevalent with the, let's say, molestation of children, then we bring in more resources that will educate the children themselves on how to go about it. that they should not keep quiet, and bring in children counselors, go through schools and educate them, bring the parents on board, because parents, in fact, one of the person that is not mentioned here that we added as a stakeholder is a parent. It's already, because we added it as we were talking to the journalists. A parent is a main stakeholder in this, so we bring them on board so that everything that is being done because we have data. If we find that this data points to, let's say, drug abuse in a certain area, then we will focus more on the drug abuse so that we reduce the drug abuse among the teens and the young adults and even the family members, because we are having a lot of alcoholic abuse. And when a person is involved in alcoholism, actually alcohol becomes his wife and children. The other family members are kept off. So when they come in to demand for food, for what upkeep and what, they are seen as intruders in this person's life. So depending on what we will see important, we will go into those areas as to focus in. So data is very important.
Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa, for linking data and interventions. They are going to inform the decisions and even budgetary allocations when it comes to the interventions. But then let me also probe you on something you've mentioned about information and education on matters SGBV. Who are you targeting, and how are you going to make this practical, and what is going to be the priority areas or thematic areas when passing this information to the target population? Why is this crucial?
Let me just briefly tell you the object and the purpose of this act. It's one, to provide public awareness of the causes, impacts, consequences, and means of prevention and response to sexual and gender-based violence, provide protection for victims. That's why we are having the safe houses and gender-based violence, existing laws and regulations, so that people are aware the consequences of themselves being involved in gender-based violence. And under that is prohibiting harmful cultural traditions. Whereas some people think that if they are being hit, they are being loved by their husband, those kind of, outlawing gender discrimination in all its form, guaranteeing the right of privacy of the individual, ensuring the provisions of minimum packages of health care services, and ensuring the provision of psychosocial support, and including guidance and counseling, and then guaranteeing availability of safe houses and shelters. And this one we said also, these shelters and safe houses should not just be for women. I know right now I am in Nairobi County because of women, gender, because the women were the minority. But there'll be a time also when men can be a minority in a house. So we need to take care. But what specifically this bill is looking, now which is becoming an act, is looking for. We said that we are providing about 17 safe houses, and we said specifically that we would like at least 2 or 3 safe houses that will specifically cater for men. What we are doing in our society, we are thinking that it's only women who are being battered, it's only children, but there are men who are suffering under women, whom I have already said, who when they come home and they are also maybe drunk, or they have just been with the friends, they are battered. So we also need safe shelters for men as well. So we shouldn't just look at the women. And in these safe houses, what we have also said is that as the committee is formed, if let's say for example I am having gender-based violence in Kibera and there's a safe house in Kibera, we don't want for that person to just be taken to the safe house in Kibera. Remember, there are 17 of them, so we must play around with wisdom, because especially when it's marital and the things that are involved with love are very emotional, and somebody can still come, they won't even mind their life, they can still come and attack the people in the safe house.
So you protect the victim.
So you protect the victim by taking them to another safe house. Even let's say for example they can come from Kibera and they're taken to Kasarani or Kayole, that is safe, and it should not be known where they have really been taken. So that is the meaning of those safe houses. And then the positive address and to seek to eradicate conditions that aggravate sexual and gender-based violence, and then supported facility gatherings of the segregation, which we have already talked about, and establish clear reporting referral cases. And then in this we are also looking how we can be able to provide, when they are in this safe house, they are just not staying there. they are also probably being helped, because you need to empower people economically if they are going to come out. For instance, a mother who has got, let's say, 4 children, she doesn't work, she relies on this person. Even if the person, she doesn't know where to go with this kid, so she will be able to be forced to stay in that house. But when she's in that safe house and she's empowered to economically to start up a business, to start something, or even a career. Let's say, for example, if they needed to go to become teachers or what, they can be helped to do early childhood. Then you have empowered.
All right. I'm sorry, I'm taking you a bit fast on this.
It's very good. It's okay.
Yeah, but these safe houses, the proposal is to have them in every sub-county.
Yes.
And you've touched on something very important, that among the 17 safe houses in the sub-counties, at least there should be some that are set aside for men.
Yes.
In terms of facilitation and making it practical budget-wise, where are we, and how do you propose to fund the setting up of these safe houses?
The funding is already provided for in the Act.
All right.
Yeah. In fact, as we talk, I think there is already on Major General Mbadi, I think he has already constructed one. Yeah, we are yet to set it going, but there is already one. So we have the blessings of the county executive government, and we have also the blessing of Honorable Mbadi. It's something that is viable. It's something that we have found. Remember, we have the Department of Gender in both of these two, and they are checking out, so they are on the ground. And we have a gender-based gender department in the executive of the county of Nairobi, and we have also somebody who's taking care of gender issues in NMS. So they have the figures from the ground, and so the money will be catered for, it will be budgeted for in our coming budget, and it will be set aside for this specific issue.
For them who could be having fears that this is a beautiful promise, and it looks very good on paper, but sustaining it, will we be having a conversation, say 3 years from now, Mheshimiwa, with your team and looking at the gains we've made and the progress we've made, or it will just be another piece of legislation that will be shelved, like what we've had before? We have several laws that safeguard the rights of women in this country, but they're just rotting somewhere.
It's something that is already, I have already told you, as this is being set up, there is already a safe house that is being built. And remember, I cannot tell you where the safe house is. And most probably even that one.
I was just about to ask you.
Exactly. It will not be said where it is, and we have also agreed, we will even not put the county government of Nairobi with its logo, safe house, no. It has to just look like an ordinary place where some people are there, they are sitting. Maybe people who live in the locality may come to discover, but it should be as safe as possible. It must not expose. This is the safe house, so that also when people see you getting in, they know you have already been abused, and people will be scared of getting in because of the trauma, the stigma associated with it. So it is already being functionalized, and we as women leaders and women leaders in the county government of Nairobi, we have already set, and we have our governor, Honorable Kananu, who is really for women. We are going to make sure that it is implemented.
All right.
And remember also, among the stakeholders, we have the donors. So the donor community also, with the gender-based violence, they are also very friendly. There are communities and United Nations for women and wherever, the USAID, we are welcoming all those donors so that they can help us to functionalize this well. And I know it will succeed. Yes.
Just to take you back, having such safe houses, how is it going to change the narrative in the eradication of SGBV cases in the country? We've not had that before. In fact, it's just now that we are starting to shift in that direction. What is the value add in this war?
What it is going to change is people can also be able to break off from toxic relationship, knowing that they can be able to be taken care in other places. As we have already said, there is already strain on people economically. So sometimes when a woman or a man would like to break off from this toxic relationship, they just look like, where am I going with the children? Where am I going? Who will take care of me? And that kind of a thing. But if they know they can break off from this toxic relationship, and there is a place where they can safely be helped, be nurtured, be counseled, so that they go back and even be given some economic upliftment, then the people will be able to come out. And as leaders come out, and I see there are quite a number of people who have come up including yesterday, I think I was watching one of, I think it is a diaspora. It is called Diaspora. It's a YouTube channel, mainly in the Kikuyu language. There was a pastor coming out and saying he was in an abusive relationship. You see, abuse is not just physical. You can be in an abusive relationship where this person even brings another woman in your matrimonial bed and you are there and you are told to go and sleep in the sitting room. That is abuse. He may not touch you physically because he knows you will run to the police station. But emotional abuse of that kind after a long time, it becomes extremely serious.
All right. Yeah. Mheshimiwa, I know you can go on and on about this, but it's a conversation that we hope to pick up in the near future.
Yeah.
I want us to wind up on that note. Give us your final remarks. The bill has just, it's turning into an act, gathering from what you're telling us. What's the way forward? What do you tell residents of Nairobi County?
The residents of Nairobi County, what I want you to do is know that there is a place you can be able to run to. We are working on it. It will be there. If you are in a toxic, abusive relationship, please don't keep it to yourself. Be able to talk to somebody, be able to talk to another person that can be able to help you emotionally, because this is also being, this emotional instability is also being linked to a lot of the suicide that we are having within the city and within the country. And so when you have an issue, please talk to somebody. And as we set up these desks, please go ahead and encourage any person, yourself or any other person that has got gender-based violence to go and report. It will be taken confidentially and you will be helped, treated, and then be uplifted and be protected in the safe homes.
All right. Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa, and all the best in this journey to seeing the true realization of this particular piece of legislation. I've been engaging Honorable Mary Ariviza Mwami, a nominated member of County Assembly in Nairobi. We have been talking about the Nairobi City County Sexual and Gender-Based Management Control Bill of 2019, sponsored by Mheshimiwa Wanjiru Kariuki. Of course, it's a matter of wait and see and wait for the fruits that will come from this particular bill. My name is Serfine Achieng II. We are winding up, but we are paving way for the Swahili version of the program. We're going to be having Kurunzi Mashinani shortly, and then we will have Tamrini. Do stay for that and much more.
Ili kupata skiza tune hii ya heshima, bonyeza *811 *817 hash.
Ukiwa mtu wa heshima, utaheshimiwa. Ukiwa mtu wa kupeana, nawe utapewa. Ukiwa wewe ni wa kudharau wengine, utadharauliwa. Ukiwa wa chuki, malipo ni yale yale. Ikiwa wewe ni mtu wa haramu, vile vile itakupata tu. Na kama wewe ni mtu wa kushauri kwa hekima, hautawahi kosa. Kama wewe ni mtu wa watu.
Ili kupata skiza tune hiyo ya heshima, kama skiza tune yako, bonyeza *811 *817 hash, *811 *817 hash.
Nonsense. Wachezea kazi tu. Tambia kita kufute kazi.
Haina haja. Yuko njiani. Kosa jingine tu na ajipata nje getini kule.
Pili si antu wangu, ni mamangu.
Mamako? Mbona umwita na jina lake? Mkufu upo, uko ndani na sio kuvaa.
Uko wapi?
Huyu mkufu si wangu mimi.
Sio pesa tu. Hata roho yake pia anatembea nayo hapo chini.
Never do anything against your family, and of course, against you, Deanna.
You have to dismiss that young girl,
no,
Eduardo.
Mother, I will.
I'll take care of putting her in her right place.
What would have happened if you had never left me to be with Loreto.
Please, let's not split up. We don't need to.
Yes, we can, and it's exactly what we are doing.
No.
For no reason whatsoever, no reason will I ever let that San Roman see Diana.
Of late nimekuona unakimbia kule sana, mbali na kazi hizi. Unajua pia Kenya na Tanzania sisi ni majirani. Kuna collab yote ambayo inakuja labda?
Yeah. Kuna collab.
Inakuja na nani?
Sikwambii, surprise.
Wasanii wengi hawatumii mbinu kama ambazo unazitumia wewe ndugu yangu. Kwa nini uliamua kuwa na mashindano kupitia YouTube?
Kata, yeah.
Yeah, ndio tumetoka.
Kata. Mauna kata. Yeah. Obasi kata.
What is it saying?
Tumwake unga.
What? Ani ya Mungu hata ikopotia.
Alikuwa ameiba mpaka hii sahani.
Na hata roti.
Hata wewe ulijaribu mpaka pani, ukaia pani ya roti na agwe.
Unaona hii sura inakaa namna gani?
Na hii angalia.
Hii
watoto yangu wanataka kukula, tunawaambia tutakuitia makoa. Bwana moga.
Mpaka Mungu unaiba. Ulikuwa unaiba huyu Mungu wake umpeleke wapi?
Mungu nilikuwa nataka nimweke kwa kabati.
Tunazungumzia malezi ya watoto kwa njia ya Kiislamu na pia vile vile tunazungumzia jinsi mapambo yanaheshimiwa katika Uislamu.
Kitu ambacho mwanamke anafaa kufanya ni anafaa kuambatana na jukumu lake msingi ambalo ni ulinzi.
Swala yake ni rehema, hupata majazo mema siku hiyo ya Kiyama.
But this has to stay secret. Don't tell anyone.
Your Majesty, Your Highness, Prince Cheng requests to meet you. Mother, wake up!
Sire, I'm sorry it went this way. We shouldn't keep Miss Hung in here.
Why did the Emperor grant him the marriage so soon? I thought when he recovered,